First and foremost, giving all glory, honor, and praises due to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Rakah, HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles, elders, and bishops, the great millstone rule well over the flock. Shalom and salutation to Akim out here pushing the words of truth and sincerity. Shalom. Today, this lesson just going into John, John the Baptist, his reputation amongst men, his character, his nature, and also the lessons we learn from John, according to what Yahweh Shai even said concerning John. And so when you go to Luke 7:24, it says, "And when the messengers of John were departed, Yahweh Shai began to speak unto the people concerning John. What went ye out into the wilderness for to see? A reed shaken with the wind?" Right? You see in the NLT, it says, what kind of man did you go into the wilderness to see? Was he a weak reed swayed by every breath of wind? And that's the idea, that they were going to see this feeble man somewhere in the midst of the wilderness. John wasn't like the rest of men in the sense that, it was challenging to hear John or look through what you saw when you got out there. They probably thought they was going to see something a lot different than what they actually got. And what happens is, when somebody's an outsider and you befriend them, or you listen to them, or you hear them, and you take in that word, which was the correct and true word that John was teaching, you obviously turn from what the world considers about that person. And then, that you create that jealousy from the people who are back in the world. You don't have this world-friendly person you listening to. You don't have this world-friendly doctrine, cookie cutter faith, belief system that the whole world can accept at that time. And it just shows you that the masses are just plugged into, majority of the masses are plugged into whatever is accepted in the world. They even have a culture called cancel culture, in which if somebody's too much of an outsider, or their ideas threaten the status quo or worldview, then they get ostracized. They get pushed out. They become an outsider, alien. And so that's what happened with John the Baptist. They went in the wilderness expecting to see. Yahweh said, what did you expect to see when you went into the wilderness, right? Which is not the city, he's obviously out here. What did you expect to see? It says a reed shaken with the wind. And that's the character of somebody who is a pushover, is just going to do what everyone else tells them to do. That's not the true character or nature of somebody who stands on business and stands on this truth, on this word, which you have in these end times. A lot of guys that don't stand on the word, they waver like a reed in the wind. All right, so this is the book, real quick, of 2 Corinthians. Let me grab it. 2 Corinthians 1 verse 17. It says, "Wherefore I therefore, Salaki, when I therefore was thus minded, did I use lightness?" Make sure this is the right. Yeah. It says, "Or the things that I propose, do I propose according to the flesh, that with me there should be yea, yea, and nay, nay." Now let's read that in the NLT. It says, "You may be asking why I changed my plan. Do you think I make my plans carelessly? Do you think I am like people of the world who say yes when they really mean no?" And that's that weed shaking in the wind. That's the idea of a man of the world who just says yes even when he means no. They go along to get along. There's no real integrity. There's no real standing on business. And you can go your whole lifetime never standing on anything you believe in. There's an old saying, the only way to get something off your back is to stand straight up. There's a lot that comes with this word, which is persecution and suffering, just based off of you standing up. And again, John the Baptist was like an outsider. He was different, right? He didn't have all the attributes. He was eating wild honey and locusts. He was dressed in camel hair garment. And so that was not widely accepted by the world. That was not a worldly trend. That was pretty much the trend of somebody would be like a monk in this day and time. He was off to himself in the wilderness. You had to go find him to see him and talk to him. But again, the worldly way of conversing is saying yes when you really mean no. John wasn't like that. Verse 18, NLT, as surely as Yahweh is faithful, our word to you does not waver between yes and no. And this is why you have the idea that they would see somebody who is wavering. No, he's obviously a man in the midst of the wilderness. What would make you think that he's going to kowtow, right? Bow out to the worldly energy that you're bringing towards him? No, he's going to straightforward give you this word, right? He's going to cut no curves or, cut no corners. He's just going to give it to you unadulterated, pure, raw truth. It says, verse 25, what went ye out for to see? A man clothed in soft raiment? NLT says, were you expecting to see a man dressed in expensive clothes? Back in the KJ, it says, behold, they which are gorgeously apparelled and live delicately are in king's court. So just the nature of where he was. And when you think and analyze how the majority of times you see brothers, for the main part, when we doing shows, we on the corners, we on the street corners. That's where we prophesy. And it might be a random street corner in the downtown. There's homeless people around. There's all types of people around. We're not safely up in some building, warm air, pamphlets, organs. No, you see us right outside with the noise of the city. All right. And that's similar to how John, where he was at, and he brought raw truth. And so what would make you think that we, being outside in the midst of the city where nobody really wants to be, all right, sometimes the part of the city is people will do anything not to cross in front of us just because it's that part of downtown. And, it's a nail biting experience when you turn the corner and it's the prophets of the Lord there. You either run or you hear or you forbear. All right. There's not a chair for you. There's not, our faces aren't the faces of those happy faces that you see when you walk into Walmart or Starbucks. We don't have that energy as if we're trying to keep you around. There's only so many things that can happen when you come up to a prophet, and that's either going to get cursed out, cut by the word in some form or fashion, rebuked, or just, if you're dealing wisely, and if you're, observing and listening and taking heed and sincere, you might leave with a blessing, or depending on who you are, you might leave with a curse. And so this is the raw, authentic word being distributed throughout the four corners of the earth through prophets like that of our leaders at Great Millstone. It's a rawness. It's the 100%. It's the uncut. It's none of the fluff, right? Our garments don't match. Our hairstyles don't match. Some brothers got the patches on their beards. We don't have broadened phylacteries. We're not wearing the latest outfits. A lot of our clothes is just, if not hand-me-downs or thrift shopped or basic, the layman's clothes. We speak a layman's language. Brothers don't have $3,000 words. All right, we don't speak the worldly, wisdom. We speaking in the heavenly wisdom. So that means you can simplify it. The scriptures tell you make it plain upon tables. This word should go out unfiltered, and it usually does, always does, whenever you're dealing with Great Millstone. If you need it watered down, that's where you go to church. That's when you go in these buildings. If you need it watered down to the point of it's not even, there's no nutrients anymore, you go inside these churches. If you just need the sinews back upon your flesh and no breath in it, then you go to some of these Israelite camps who just going to teach you about the laws and being an Israelite and, the history of it, which you'll get here as well, but you're also going to get prophecies and knowing that the time is short, what's expected out of you. So it says, but what when ye went out to see? But what went ye out for to see? Verse 26, a prophet? Yea, and I say unto you, and much more than a prophet. For this is he of whom it was written, behold, I am sending my messenger before thy face, which shall prepare thy way before thee. So the prophet John the Baptist had such a special spirit on him that he couldn't fold. He wouldn't be in a situation where he can present some type of untruth doctrine, a doctrine that wouldn't promote the foreshadowing of things to come. He wouldn't prophesy about Yahushua. He wouldn't talk about the kingdom of heaven is at hand. That's exactly what he was formatted and placed there to do. And so as you have true prophets of the Lord who are returning in their steads of their forefathers or themselves before in their past life, as you have true prophets coming back, you have to entertain that idea that they're going to be very austere. They're going to be one way. They're going to be rough. Usually they're going to be some of them will have a symbol of a hardness. Now, on the other end, you had Yahushua, who, what it says about Yahushua is that he came eating and drinking with the publicans, speaking with the publicans, drinking with the sinners. Here it goes. Verse 33, Luke 7, for John the Baptist came neither eating bread nor drinking wine, and ye say he hath a devil. And so that's what came out of looking at the visuals of John the Baptist. Of course, again, he's the outsider. He's in the wilderness. He got camel hair garments. He's eating wild locusts. That wasn't a delicacy of that time. If he had princely garments, he'd be in a palace somewhere. He didn't. His garments fit exactly where he was, and his teaching style fit exactly to the level in which the Heavenly Father gave him, which he ended up being the top prophet there ever was. Right? And it says, the Son of Man is come eating and drinking, verse 34. So this is Yahushua. Completely opposite, however, of the same message, the same word. And they denied him. It says, and ye said, behold, a gluttonous man and a winebibber, a friend of publicans and sinners. So in the end, when you're teaching raw, unadulterated truth as you get in Great Millstone, you got brothers that have been or were college bound, professional CEO style brothers, clean cut, so to speak. And then you have the brothers who are more or less like rough around the edges, street style. Somebody you find, who brother would have took a course towards being in a biker gang or something like that. Well, even though you have different appearances, some more widely accepted of the world than others, you still have the same word. And so you can see it's not that the appearance made it any difference. It was the word that the world hated. And not just, it was more intensely the Pharisees and Sadducees, the wicked of them, that hated this word. It was the sinners and the publicans that heard the word and turned from that reproof and were able to, be baptized and forgiven of their sins and turn from their wicked ways. So it was the hypocritical Sadducees and Pharisees who was all about priestly garments and gay clothing and the way of the world, and this is the way you need to teach. And they were the main ones who didn't accept Yahweh Shai or John's message. Verse 35 says, but wisdom is justified of all her children. NLT says, but wisdom is shown to be right by the lives of those who follow it. So what was happening is the real children of wisdom were these publicans and these sinners who found a way to turn back to wisdom by asking for forgiveness through repentance, all right, which leads to salvation. So those were the real, true children of wisdom. All right, so let's see if we have anything else here to add to this point, and then if not, I'm gonna close it out. All right, let's bring out Ephesians 4 and verse 14. It says that we henceforth be no more children, tossed to and fro, and carried about with every wind of doctrine by the sleight of men and cunning craftiness, whereby they lie in wait to deceive. And this one, I like how it words in the NLT. It says, we will not be influenced when people try to trick us with lies so clever they sound like the truth. And this is what happens when they do this worldly. The only thing they got to offer you when they try to deny or make us look like lunatics out here, or, you know, oh, GMS, run away from that camp, or you don't want nothing to do with them, or these guys, you know, they slander our names, and starting with the apostles, of course. The only approach that they ever take is then trying to bash us in our name and kill that, you know, destroy the reputation that Great Millstone has about being having 100% truth. When you finally get around to the video where they're describing and breaking down their truth, you can see it's holes all in it. It's a boat with multiple holes, and it's bound to sink. And they're blind leaders of the blind. All right, and a lot of them, if they don't escape those groups, and have run to a correct 100% truth doctrine, they'll be drowned in that, on that same sinking ship. So it's the craftiness, it's tossed to and fro. You can't be a child in your mind. You have to be more stable to understand that the worst case scenario is you leaving this word, because you can't expect to receive any of the rewards of the steadfast when you weren't steadfast. You can't receive the rewards of the faithful when you lost faith. You can't receive the rewards of the true worshipers of Yahweh Shai when you began to worship false doctrines. It says, but speaking the truth in love may grow unto him in all things, which is the head, even Yahweh Shai. Lastly, I'll bring out James. This is 1 in verse 6. It says, but let him ask in faith, nothing wavering. For he that wavereth is like a wave of the sea, driven with the wind and tossed, right? And this is a parallel of what I believe it was Isaac when he was blessing his sons, or Jacob when he was blessing his 12 sons. He gave upon Reuben. I mean, concerning Reuben, in verse 4, he says, unstable as water, thou shalt not excel. So there it is. You won't go anywhere. You can't continue on unless those waters of your mind are still, unless you rest still, unless you remember that flood that Yahweh Shai was able to still. And as long as it wasn't still, the men, his disciples, basically worried and were fearful of their lives. That's that instability. Same as your mind. When you're unstable as a person, as a character trait, when you don't truly know what's worth following because you're looking at what man looks at. Are they accepted by the masses of people? How do I befriend an outsider and still keep my nice image? Well, naturally, they won't befriend. You know, naturally, when you befriend the outsider, that's a turning point in your life. Because the people no longer accept you the same way. So you have to expect, these are part of it's called Whew, it's right on the tip of my tongue. It's called, mitigating risk. Look that up, term, mitigating the risks. When you expect, when you go through in peacetime, you go through all of the possibilities of war, which is when you're supposed to prepare for war. If you want peace, prepare for war. In that preparation, you see all the risks that you need to mitigate, that you need to learn how to handle before they come, because the worst time to deal with a problem is when you're in it. And so as you come into this word, and as you start learning about being a Hebrew Israelite, a lot of people, a lot of camps aren't helping you mitigate risk. They don't show you how to be, say to hell with the world and really stand on business. Because when the S thing hits the fan, they're gonna be taking the MOTB, because their incorrect doctrine doesn't teach against the MOTB being the RFID C-hip. So they're going to take it just like they did the jump shot. These blind guides who are attempting to lead you, who sound and made lies sound like it was the truth, sleight of hand. And these are the cunning ways that you have to be prepared and watch out for, because you can be swept away in your mind. You're swept away first by believing something that isn't true. Again, unstable as water, verse 4, thou shalt not excel, because thou wentest up to thy father's bed, then defilest thou it. He went up into my couch. And so that's the whole key here, is to have stability of mind. Again, James 1:6 in the NLT, but when you ask him, be sure that your faith is in Yahweh alone. Do not waver, for a person with divided loyalty is as unsettled as a wave of the sea that is blown and tossed by the wind. Such people should not expect to receive anything from the Lord. So it's imperative now that you close off the door of your mind towards the past, or towards, the fear of what other people say, that you understand that this move is for your safety. This move is for your peace of mind. You're securing your space on the chariot, so to speak. You're locking down your election. You're making your calling election sure. You're doing the work of an evangelist. You're teaching, you're promoting the true gospel of the Lord, and you can care less what the world has to say about it. As a matter of fact, the world ain't got nothing good to say about it, so you don't even tune in anymore to what they're saying. You learn how to politely reject even the thought, because you've heard it all before. At this certain point in time, what more can they say? They didn't call us every name under the sun. And if they hated us, know that they hated Yahweh Shah first. We're in that stead. We're walking that stead now. Again, John, who happened to be who Yahweh Shah said was the top prophet, right? Going back to what Yahweh Shah said of John, he says, but what went ye out for to see? A prophet? Yea, I say unto you, and much more than a prophet. Verse 28, jumping down, it says, for I say unto you, among those that are born of women, there is not a greater prophet than John the Baptist, but he is the least in the kingdom. He that is least in the kingdom of Yahweh is greater than he. And that puts you in a special privileged position to even be greater than John the Baptist, because you're a believer that's going to enter you into the kingdom of Yahweh. If you continue to endure and hold on, you'll be greater. And that's what it is. That's what the Yahweh Shah is speaking of. Those that actually believe unto salvation will be greater than that position that John the Baptist held at that time as the greatest prophet. So the elect, what's in store for the elect is salvation, right? Don't let anybody take your crown. Don't have this defeated mentality that you need to be world friendly, that the world needs to accept you. When you dealing with your money and you're using wisdom as you go through your things, you go through your daily life and you use wisdom there, and you utilize tact and you understand how to not say things that are crazy. We're not saying go around acting like John the Baptist during the day at work. There's a time and a place, and you learn that. We're not foolish men. And so, but we understand. You still have to understand the magnitude of how John the Baptist, the Spirit was on him to say what he had to say and do what he had to do, and to look the way he had to look, because it would be used to this day as what people will consider what is a godly man. How does he look? What is I'm not gonna listen to this man, these guys, because look where they at on the street. I'm not gonna hear these guys because they ain't shaved. I'm not gonna hear from these guys because they keep saying the name. They don't say Jesus. Or they're constantly finding ways to ostracize, to diminish this word. But you can't, because it's not for you. It was always for the elect. So I brought this out. This video is edifying. Until next time, shalom.